Hello everyone, thanks for joining us for this InterTradeIreland All-Ireland Innovation Programme event on navigating the crisis, where to for the SME. My name is Maria and today I'll be talking to Dr. Lawrence Dooley, Lecturer in Enterprise and Innovation at University College Cork, and Dr. Adam Frost, Lecturer in Enterprise at Queen's University Belfast. So in today's session, we really want to focus on helping SMEs navigate the crisis and to think about where to and what next.
Feel free to interact during the event by tagging our Twitter handles at @inter_trade or at QUB engagement using the hashtag AIIP seminars, or pop your comments below on YouTube. And if you have any questions or feedback for the speakers, their email addresses will be available at the end of the video.
So let me begin by asking you, Lawrence, what impact do you think the COVID-19 crisis is likely to have on SME competitiveness as we move through the phased relaxation of emergency government restrictions?
Firstly, shutting down of businesses for 9 weeks is challenging for any scale of business, but for the SMEs, they're going to have eaten into much of their financial reserves that they had put together over years of hard work. And prior to restarting, they need to allow adequate time to undertake proper due diligence and financial planning so that they can be prepared for any of the hiccups that are going to come along the way. One tool that they should actually apply is scenario planning, where they take their best guess, but then they look at the 25% worst case scenario and 25% most positive case scenario of that particular scenario. And that will give them wriggle room before they begin their business. The second challenge that's going to be there for SMEs and mostly any business is that the disruption to supply chains is going to put challenges on raw materials. So making sure that they have adequate reserves of raw materials to begin their businesses again will avoid delays and difficulties there. The final thing for SMEs is the new regulations in terms of social distance and health and safety that are required of industry to meet. These are going to require process innovation on the part of the SME to actually make sure that they can re-engage in delivery of their service or products to the market in a safe way.
I think I would just add to what Lawrence has said, that one of the key challenges for a lot of smaller businesses will just be the general uncertainty. There's obviously, as Lawrence said, this is, unprecedented in the amount of disruption they've already faced. A key challenge going forward will be that any adaptations they make to their business may not be enough. We don't know what this is going to look like in a month, 2 months' time. If they reopen, there's obviously the challenge that they may be faced with having to close again. So I just think that general uncertainty, and it makes it a key challenge to kind of the planning stage. And I think ultimately, unfortunately, there are going to be some cases where businesses have closed and it may be that they can't open again. And this might be, a severe impact on a lot of businesses, but that does also mean that there are some opportunities for obviously new enterprises to enter some of the markets where businesses have had to stay closed.
And Adam, given the nature of the shock to the global economy and the impact the crisis has had, how best do you think SMEs can adapt now during the crisis to survive and grow post-COVID-19?
One of the things that the businesses really need to focus on is really looking at their whole business model. So, a lot of small businesses will be very focused normally when they're starting a company upon kind of thinking about their product, whether a customer wants this product. They may have had very successful businesses that have, been very successful generating revenue. The challenge they now have, though, is that it might be actually how do you get that product to the customer? How do you interact with them? It might be a disruption around their supply chain. So I think small businesses really need to map out their business plan and have a real clear idea about how is it going to have to change to go forward. And that will be from a short-term perspective of maybe sourcing new suppliers, maybe pivoting the business. So, it's not the face-to-face interaction with a customer. It's a move to maybe online. It's maybe looking at working with other businesses in partnership to kind of help each other out if one's got kind of, certain resources the others haven't got. Another part, obviously, as businesses think about reopening, and obviously some businesses have started to do this already, but more complicated ones with production, or more kind of, if they've got a greater need for interaction with a customer, they're going to have to think about the physical adaptations they make to production and the customer-facing aspects of the business. And it's really important they focus on that, not just for the kind of health and safety of aspect in terms of the staff and employees, but it's about confidence. It's giving customers confidence that they can use the business, staff confidence that they can go back there as well.
When we look at this, finance is going to be king for every business. There's an old acronym, cash flow is more important than your mother. So really, businesses need to make sure that they have the adequate cash reserves in place before they begin this journey. So making sure that they have talked with their bank managers to make sure there are lines of credit there, and also reaching out to the government support agencies that are complementers in this. There is a vested interest from governments north and south to make sure that businesses stay running. So finance is going to be king for these businesses, and they may need to make sure that they have adequate reserves to undertake the journey. And then the second thing, as Adam identified there, they need to innovate. They need to actively engage in innovation across the full spectrum.
What exactly does innovation mean for an SME, and how can SMEs put innovation into action?
What an SME needs to do is they need to focus on the 5 or 6 different categories of innovation and make sure that they're focused and doing work in those. Those 5 or 6 categories are, they need to make sure they're looking and innovating in terms of their products or services that they're bringing to the market. They need to be looking at how there's opportunities in terms of process innovation. Now, of course, that's going to be driven by the need to reconfigure everything we're doing in relation to COVID-19 and how we engage with the public. A third thing is positional innovation. So in terms of what new markets demand our products, bring new opportunities. So we have seen examples of this, of companies being able to pivot and bring their products to new markets or new opportunities as a result of that, be that national or international. The fourth is, as Adam had highlighted, the paradigm or the business model, finding new ways of generating or capturing value from that, whether that be as part of a network where we're profit sharing between a larger suite of stakeholders, or share business model like we see with Spotify or these things. So there's a lot of opportunities there. And finally, the last one, as we can see exactly what we're doing now, which is innovation in terms of management. So that new technologies that are going to change the way in which we manage our organization, we track our organization. So any SME needs to look at these sweet spots and see where are there opportunities where we can add value for our organization. And that value will hopefully bring in new market share, reduce cost, and ultimately improve the competitive advantage of the SME going forward.
Just to add to what Lawrence has said, I think a key part of this really is businesses really focusing on what their resources and capabilities are, identifying, and it might be that they have a resource that they can pivot and change in some way to create new opportunities. It's about identifying as well if there are resource capabilities they don't have, but they're going to need in order to adapt the business. And then, as Lawrence said, looking at if they've not got their resources themselves, speaking to the bank, going to places for support, external agencies. I think another key thing really with all of this as well, and I think it's one of the big challenges we face with the social distancing, is that communication is going to be key. That if you are adapting your product, your service, how you deliver it, it's important that you try and engage with your customer because you've not got that face-to-face interaction. So when a business is first launching first launching a new product, there's going to be a lot of customer interaction trying to understand what the customer wants. The challenge now is that businesses are having to adapt very quickly and they're not getting the interactions. They will need to look at communication with customers. If social media is appropriate, if they've not had a presence before, it's going to be really important to try and do that so that if they're trying stuff out, They need to be able to get that feedback from the customer so that if it doesn't work, they can adapt and pivot what they're doing to make sure it does work in the future.
And Adam, looking ahead to the future, what positives or opportunities can emerge from a crisis?
One thing to think about is that this is putting a much more stronger focus on kind of local businesses, local supply chains. So I think there could be a longer term shift away from global supply chains to much more local ones. And that gives a real opportunity for a lot of local SMEs to really tap into that, to be able to provide services and products to other businesses.
Out of every crisis comes opportunity. And, while this is a challenge, SMEs are entrepreneurial and have a reputation of being constantly able to pivot to shifts in their market and having a resilience to survive. So if we take one example, the Irish government have said that their expenditure on PPE is going to go from 0.15 billion to 1 billion this year. So if you're a plastics manufacturer or even a sandwich cardboard manufacturer, there's going to be opportunities there for you to explore opportunities in that space. Secondly, we've seen in the shutdown that those companies which had online presences or were able to get online presences up quite quickly, like restaurants and so on, they were able to continue to trade. So that this may be the lever to encourage SMEs that have held off on harnessing the power of the internet for interaction with their customer, be that B2B or B2C, to actually take that jump. And with that could bring new markets. The last thing that I would point out of an opportunity is that SMEs by their nature have been recognized as able to compete against larger companies out of their ability to collaborate. There is the opportunity, and Adam mentioned this earlier, to actually create networks so that SMEs can provide a much higher value turnkey solution to the market. That not only reduces the risk that the company's been exposed to because they're sharing that risk, but it also, if they get their network right, it creates a barrier to entry for other competitors because it takes time to develop this. But again, out of this crisis will come opportunities, will come decisions of management out of necessity to reposition the company, and that may move it up the value stream up into higher value added areas.
Thank you, Lawrence. That does sound very encouraging, but can you tell us, where can SMEs across the island of Ireland get support during this crisis?
Well, firstly, I think we have to mention InterTradeIreland. And obviously they have a number of supports that are available. And I'd encourage people as a first stop to go there, and there's good mentorship and there's different programs like Fusion available there that SMEs can tap into to aid, and obviously to increase trade across the border in terms of Northern Irish companies delivering into the South and vice versa, so that we can both get through this together. Obviously then through the Irish government, through the vehicle of Enterprise Ireland, that they have a number of funds put in place similar to Invest Northern Ireland. And if you go onto their website, you can see them quite clearly there, but they cover 5 broad areas. The first is financial planning grant, which is, I think, €5,000 to allow the company engage in that due diligence that we were talking about. Secondly, there's an enterprise sustainability fund, which will provide assistance to keep the business up and running. There's a very important fund there in terms of process reconfiguration, tapping into lean and tapping into improvements, not only to reduce costs, but to allow it to align better with the new reality of what their business is going to have to be under the social distancing, etc. We also have the Fund for Innovation and Diversification into New Markets and New Opportunities that has been there. And finally, like a lot of business have been tapping into the worldwide, there are government supports to help SMEs and other businesses keep employees on the books and to keep them employed. And so there's a suite of supports there that the companies should be looking at.
And Adam, are there any other supports available that you would like to mention?
So Invest and I, on their website, they've got a very clear guide to the support available. So it comes under 3 areas of respond, recover, rebuild. Respond is very much about the UK government support around furloughing, about loans, about grants, and very much about keeping businesses open so they don't have to close down. Recover is very much linked to what we've been talking about today. So there are some innovation vouchers. There's advice training, very much about developing new products, making adaptations to the business, making sure that they can recover. But the more long term, and especially going back to some of the stuff we said at the start of this, is about the rebuild. So that's about strategic guidance, about networks, about once you kind of, over the hurdle of this, what does the future look like for the business, and to make sure it can build and become a stronger business in the end.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Adam, and thanks again to you both.
So we have Dr. Lawrence Dooley from University College Cork and Dr. Adam Frost, Queen's University, Belfast.
Thanks to everyone for watching, and remember, if you have any questions for either Adam or Lawrence or feedback on this event, please tweet them to @inter_trade or @QUB engagement using the hashtag AIIP seminars. Or you can email Lawrence or Adam directly using their email addresses l.dooley@ucc.ie or a.frost@qub.ac.uk. Thanks also to InterTrade Ireland, Queen's University Belfast and University College Cork for supporting this event, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the All Ireland Innovation Programme series of events.